Alexis contracted with LaMarche Global to work with her senior leadership team in the development of their business strategy. She recognized that defining and implementing a business strategy requires a change management discipline in order for it to be successful. Her CEO respected her opinion, but was skeptical to partner with a change management firm to do this kind of work, and asked her to describe the approach. She called me and asked, how will we use change management to define and implement business strategy? Let me start by saying that it's always valuable to get an external perspective, especially when we're talking about business strategy. Many times the leadership team responsible for developing strategy is too close to the organization, too close to the issues, and often have, whether intentional or unintentional, they've got some baggage or some challenges that they feel personally responsible for resolving. So coming at this from an outside view and contracting with LaMarche Global is a good thing. First and foremost, when we talk about developing business strategy, the bottom line is that that's a change. It's a change to the organization. It's a change to the strategic direction in which the organization is moving. And therefore, very simply, it becomes a change project. And as a change project, the key tenets or the key components of a solid change effort need to come into play. We need to approach it like we approach all of the other changes we set out to accomplish. First and foremost, do we really understand why we need to make changes to the business strategy? Do we have clarity on what those changes need to look like, or the business metrics that need to be impacted one way or another as a result of this change? And then finally, we have the component about how are we going to actually execute that strategy. So we look at a standard or a typical approach. We're going to identify the desired state or identify the strategy requirements. We're going to define it in as much detail as we possibly can. We're going to prepare the organization for that strategic change. We're going to put together a project plan that clearly identifies the steps that are required in order to get us there. We're going to implement that plan, and then ultimately, when we install the desired state, when the new strategy is in place, an important component is the continued sustainment of that plan, the continued sustainment of that desired state. Again, at the core of this is a solid business case for change. Not only do the leaders sitting around that table who will be working with us and our leadership team, our change management team, to define the strategy, not only do they need to really understand why strategy change is necessary, they have to own it. They have to sponsor it. They have to be the leaders, the cheerleaders who are going to go out into the organization and drive it down through to a successful conclusion. How do we use good change management to get at a clearly defined desired state? Well, let's step back and recall what is inherent in that desired state definition. What structure changes might we have to make? Are we going to have to downsize infrastructure? Are we going to need new technology? Are we going to have to acquire or merge with other organizations? All that's part of the structure. Next are business processes. Which business processes don't work today? Or are processes in place today and we just choose not to follow them? We have to monitor that behavior, looking at process. Clearly, the culture of the organization is a critical factor in the strategic definition. Where are we going to go? The culture is who we are today. It's how we actually get our work done from a people standpoint. What is our leadership style? What is our preferred communication style? What is our preferred learning style? What do we reward people for? What do we punish them or exert punitive measures for? All of that needs to be considered and decided whether it will go forward with us or it will stay behind. And then finally, we need to take a look at the people component. The skills, the competencies, the experiences that with our people that will be required in the future. All of that desired state dialogue, that desired state discussion is critical, and the senior leadership team responsible for strategy has to come together and agree. Next, we then move on to validating our senior leadership commitment. Sitting around a table with senior leaders and having this discussion, it's very, very easy for everyone to shake their head in a positive way, indicating that they're on board. The reality is we don't really know whether folks are on board, whether senior leaders are committed until after that strategy meeting, till we begin the deployment. And then we see whether individuals on that team have issues with their ability to deliver or issues with their willingness or their agreement with that desired state. We need to monitor that, we need to adjust it, and we need to make certain that the decisions all move us in a positive direction. One of the other critical issues is that as we sit around the table defining that strategic desired state, it is in fact leveraging words that are strategic. The conversations and the concepts are very strategic. That team of leaders needs to appreciate that as the change is pushed down through the organization, there will need to be a translation in that middle management layer of our organization from a strategic definition to the operational definition, so that the folks who are lower in the organization, the folks who need to actually make this strategy work, bring it to life, they need to understand the change as it impacts them. So when Alexis asks the question, what do we need to do, how do I approach it, what will it look like, we've talked about desired state, we've talked about sponsorship, we've talked about the communication from a strategic to a tactical definition. We have to also understand that there will be issues and concerns along the way. There will be individuals at all levels in the organization who, for one reason or another, may resist this change, resist the shift in strategy. They may question why, they may question what, they may question how, or they may just generally be anti-change. Their normal tendency would be toward resistance. Part of our strategy rollout has to be to anticipate and predict what that resistance is going to be, and then proactively, through our communications, begin to address those issues very early on. We don't want to wait until it becomes a big issue, until it has huge impact. We want to cut it off early, we want to address it early, and by anticipating and mitigating, we've moved one step closer toward acceptance. Finally, we've got our plan in place, we understand where we're going, we understand how we're going to get there. One of the final aspects of our strategy has to be, what's the plan for monitoring the implementation and addressing the resistance that comes up along the way, as well as celebrating the fact that we've gotten to that end result, we've gotten the acceptance that we're looking for. Alexis, you have a long way to go on this journey, but again, just keeping in mind that at the core is treating a strategic change or the development of a business strategy as a change project. And if we apply the methodology, the process, and the tools aligned to manage change, you will successfully define and implement that business strategy.